from NBC News.
Psychiatrist Dr. Gail Saltz is a Today contributor, and Nicole Williams is the author of Girl on Top, Your Guide to Turning Dating Rules into Career Success. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Okay, experts, let's take a look at the numbers. CareerBuilder.com says that 8 million Americans enter into a work romance every year and that 42% have dated their boss. Does the fact that it happens all the time make it okay, Gail?
Absolutely not. It does happen a lot, but it doesn't mean there aren't big psychological pitfalls and a lot of fallout that can happen at the office. People get angry. They feel envious. People who do it get robbed of their feeling of confidence. Did I get this promotion because I'm really good, or did I get this promotion because I slept with the boss?
Or did you not get the promotion because so-and-so slept with the boss, right, Nicole?
And that's a great question. And yes, there is hostility that's built. I agree with Gail. It is about your personal feeling of confidence in, actual output at work, but really it is also about the people around you who are envious, who are questioning whether or not you really have talent, or if you just got the promotion because you betted the boss.
So you two are backing the argument that we've been hearing that it creates a hostile work environment. It's interesting, though, that men don't have that same view. About the Letterman case, anyway, a lot of men are saying, how could he be, if in fact it's true, extorted by somebody in his own company? But women seem to be saying this. Why women?
I think because women are in the position of feeling that it's most often that a man is the boss, still today, and they're feeling that the man has the power, the man has, maybe they want to be appreciated, admired, they want to be have some of that power too, and so unconsciously it may motivate a woman to do something that really isn't great for her, isn't great for her career. And I think women are aware of this, that they can be drawn into something that maybe isn't so smart for them.
So the idea is that it creates this unlevel playing field that's difficult for the women even to say no?
Yes, absolutely. Especially when there's a reporting relationship. Can you imagine saying no to a potential advance? And there are policies, there is legislation out there protecting people, but I think by and large, there is a social feeling of, indebtedness that can sometimes lead a young woman to do something that they don't want to do.
Well, certainly this is not the end of this.
No.
I'm certain we're going to hear much more about this. Well, thank you so much for helping us understand a little bit more about this issue. I'm certainly we'll talk to you again. And Dr. Gail Saltz and Nicole Williams, thank you. And we're back in just a moment after local news.
David Letterman's admission last week to having sex with some of his female staff members has left many people scratching their head over company policies and bosses dating subordinates.
Dan Abrams is NBC's chief legal analyst, and Nicole Williams is the author of Girl on Top, Your Guide to Turning Dating Rules into Career Success.
It's all in the title, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Okay, so first of all, Dan, have any laws been broken? We saw that Worldwide Pants says he hasn't violated our policy, but what is their
policy? That's also his company.
Right.
Right. Well, look, it's his company, but it seems to me every time we talk about sexual harassment and the possibility of that, we're taking away attention from Halderman, right? The guy who committed this crime here.
Yes.
In my view, that's exactly what he wants. He would love for everyone to turn the discussion to David Letterman and away from him.
That's what Halderman would
That's
like.
right. That's what Halderman wants.
Well, he's going to have his day in court.
He will, but that's the story here. Meaning, the fact that David Letterman, we don't know the numbers, right? Look, if this were 15 people and if they were interns, and that changes the story a little bit. If it's but if it's 4 or 5 people and it's people who are totally age appropriate, who he ended up dating for a while, etc., are we really going to?
Let me tell you what bugs us, though. We're watching a young girl who was an assistant and intern work her way up, get on television, go to the Olympics.
Right.
It's more than just their dating and it's their private thing, because it's also affecting, and I'm not saying that someone else didn't deserve to go in place of her, but she was the one who
look, but then the question is, so let's assume that we can make a moral judgment, right? Let's say we say, you know what, there's something about that feels whatever it is.
Right. In his own words, creepy.
Right, yeah, right. But then what's the remedy now? Meaning, what do we want? Do we want David Letterman to get fired over that? Do we want him to get sued? I mean, it seems to me that people are almost calling for sexual harassment lawsuits. They're saying, what about sexual harassment? There's been no one complaining about the behavior.
Well, but there's a reason for that. We discussed.
Yeah.
Women tend to lose their jobs for complaining about something like that.
And that's absolutely right. That is absolutely right. It's a very threatening situation as a young woman to come forward and say, listen, I felt pressured into this sexual relationship. And, you're right, like there has to be coercion, there has to be offense, they have to come forward.
Women don't want to be labeled.
Where were the complaints when he got married to someone who worked for him? I mean, why didn't people say, oh my goodness, she worked with him? We should be horrified. No one
But
complained
there
then.
was a direct reporting relationship in this instance. I think when you have a boss
But she reported he was the boss, and she ended up marrying the boss.
Yeah, they may have had a love contract. Maybe they had a love contract, Dan.
But my point, but seriously, my point is that no one was upset about it then.
What about CBS? Does that the parent corporation of the whole thing? Do they have a morals clause or a code of conduct or anything like that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question that CBS, although as you pointed out earlier, he works for Worldwide Pants, his production company, not
He's a loan out, which is called a loan. He loans himself out from his own company to work for CBS.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. And so the question then becomes, what relationship does he have with CBS? Look, there's no question the CBS can't completely separate themselves from this. But again, I think the question is going to be, what happens now? Meaning, are there people who are going to actually come forward and say, you know what? And not just women who say he hit on me or whatever, but other people who say, you know what? I felt that I couldn't work comfortably in that environment because of X, Y, or Z, but that hasn't happened.
Or I didn't get ahead because I wasn't willing to engage in this kind of...
Someone else got ahead instead of me because she did and I didn't.
Murky.
Yeah.
How do you prove any of that? I mean, I would think it'd be almost impossible.
But even an allegation, I think, changes everything. Meaning, one person coming forward and saying, I felt like I got the short end of the stick because of this.
What about if that one person happens to be a person of questionable ethics, who just lies now and says, oh yeah, and they get a big book deal, and his career's ruined because nobody's going to, you know?
No, it's a great point. It's a great point, but I think the answer is from the media perspective. I mean, that's what Letterman is suffering from, right? All weekend, people were talking about sexual harassment laws and now talking about Halderman and extortion, right? There's been much more discussion. I've been talking all weekend from a legal perspective in the media because I've been asked to speak about it, about sexual harassment and not about attempt to commit grand larceny and not about extortion.
Maybe because that isn't murky. Like
no,
you sort of get that.
We get that.
It's not as interesting.
This just came as a surprise. This person comes into people's homes.
And I think that's so pervasive. I think one of the interesting things in and around this is, you know, inevitably dating's happening in the world of work, and oftentimes it happens in a reporting relationship.
Well, dating is different than hooking up in quiet, places. I mean, I don't think they date. Right?
I mean, my guess is, look, I don't know David Letterman personally, but it does seem to me this is a guy who works all the time, right? Who has had a number of long-term relationships with women who have worked with him.
Well, then I guess you could say, well, it wasn't a one-night stand, but anyway, everything's relevant.
Thank you guys.
Thanks so much.